So the system of fire towers was developed in the state of New York in the early 1900s when we had a series of years with very dry conditions and when we had several fires that became very large. And so the fire towers were what I call the smoke detectors of the woods. The system of those was placed geographical locations where there was a tendency for fires, such as along railroads or areas that were being extensively logged, or where there were a lot of towns and villages. And the system of fire towers grew from a few to well over 100 across the state of New York. And these towers were all manned by observers who would observe from the cabs of towers for smoke, and then utilizing either phones or radio systems, they would be able to communicate with a forest ranger who could get resources to what started out as a smoke and hopefully put it out before it became a large fire. The Bramley Mountain Fire Tower actually has some history for me that goes way back because my dad was the fire tower observer at a neighboring fire tower, Balsam Lake. And so my dad was friends with the observers here at the Bramley Mountain Fire Tower. So the Catskill Mountain Club and the Department of Environmental Protection worked together and placed trails back on the Bramley Mountain parcel. And the Catskill Mountain Club was then approached by the owner of the fire tower, Tom Clark, who said, is there any possibility of returning the fire tower back there now that we have a set of trails that would go to the fire tower? And the Bramley Mountain, Friends of Bramley Mountain was formed from that initial group of the Catskill Mountain Club and others to actually work toward getting that fire tower returned to the summit. Our local fire tower community here understands the significant role historically that fire towers played in our community. They looked over them and protected them from fires, but they also played other roles. There was a very large educational and public relations role that fire tower observers played. They invited the local school children to come and do field trips and understand the work that they did. And those same school children would also often return during the weekend and have a picnic with their family. Those types of things happen within the fire tower community still when there is a fire tower there. So we expect those to happen at Bramley Mountain now in the future. There are also visitors from out of town who hear about fire towers and actually travel many, many miles to come visit fire towers. So we expect that tourism draw will really help the local economy as far as Bramley Mountain goes. And finally, I think the other thing that is happening across the United States and other countries right now is that we are having very large fires once again, and so there is always the possibility that Bramley Mountain may be returned again for fire spotting purposes and manned for that reason, again protecting the local communities. A couple of really wonderful things that are part of this particular fire tower on Bramley Mountain. One of those is, I believe, the partnerships which have been developed between the Department of Environmental Protection and the local county officials and the Friends of Bramley Mountain and the Forest Fire Lookout Association and the Catskill Mountain Club. And those partnerships and everybody working together to make this happen have been something that is wonderful to see. Aside from that is the very unique thing here, and that is that it is a rarity, and we believe perhaps the only place where a fire tower was removed from its original location and 50-some years later returned to that exact original location. And we think that that's something that should be celebrated by all of those partners that were involved here.